September 18th, 1943, 03:12 a.m. Peenemünde Army Research Center, Baltic Coast. A freezing wind whipped across the test field, carrying the sharp smell of ethanol and liquid oxygen. Floodlights cut through the darkness like white knives, illuminating the towering silhouette of Germany's newest miracle weapon, the Aggregate 4, soon to be renamed the V2. Its metallic skin hissed as it cooled from another test firing that had nearly ripped apart the launch pad. Major General Walter Dornberger stood motionless near the gantry, coat pulled tight, eyes fixed on the rocket as if staring at a tragedy in slow motion. Engineers around him scrambled to secure valves and check data logs, but Dornberger wasn't watching them. He was watching the V2's shadow, long, thin, and devouring everything it touched. Inside his leather folder were the figures no one wanted to see: fuel shortages, steel depletion, manpower gaps. Every page pointed to the same brutal truth. Germany was starving itself to feed a weapon that could not change the war. But the Reich leadership saw something entirely different. A miracle weapon, a symbol of vengeance, a thunderbolt that could reach London before sound itself. They saw salvation. Dornberger saw a coffin. He ran his thumb along the edge of the folder. 12 tons of steel per rocket, 10 tons of fuel, thousands of workers, trains diverted, factories gutted, all to send one warhead against a city already bombed into rubble. For every V2 built, a Panzer division starved. For every launch, the Luftwaffe lost wings it could never replace. And yet, Berlin wanted thousands. Dornberger took a slow breath. He would go to the OKW, the High Command, and tell them the truth. The V2 program is accelerating Germany's defeat. If the Reich continued this path, it would collapse under the weight of its own wonder weapon. But as he turned toward the command bunker, the night suddenly split open. A siren wailed across the research base, high, sharp, unmistakable. The technicians froze. Someone shouted, "RAF bombers, incoming!" The ground trembled as the first explosion hit the far end of the complex. Sand and concrete erupted into the air. Giant searchlights sprang to life, crisscrossing the sky like frantic white claws trying to grab the enemy above. Dornberger dropped behind a steel crate as another blast punched the earth. The sky over Peenemünde glowed orange, the V2's long shadow shivering in the firelight. In that moment, with the ground shaking and the night burning, he realized the bitter irony. The enemy was bombing Peenemünde because Berlin believed the V2 was a superweapon. But the attack only proved his fear. Germany was wasting its last lifeline on a fantasy.
2 days later, Berlin, OKW headquarters, the Bendler block. The hallways stank of cigarette smoke, wet wool coats, and the quiet panic of a nation losing a war. Dornberger marched down the corridor past officers who clutched papers as if the ink itself could hold back disaster. Inside the conference room, Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel, General Alfred Jodl, and several senior staff waited behind a long table that gleamed like a polished tombstone. "Major General Dornberger," Keitel said without looking up, "we are told you have a report. Proceed." Dornberger placed his folder on the table. His voice remained calm, but inside he felt the weight of every missing soldier, every grounded aircraft, every starving factory worker. "Gentlemen," he began, "I must warn you with absolute clarity. The V2 rocket cannot change the outcome of the war. It consumes steel we cannot replace, fuel we do not possess, Skilled labor we desperately need elsewhere. Every rocket built weakens the Wehrmacht. Every launch accelerates our collapse. A logistics colonel frowned. Are you suggesting the program be halted? I am stating, Dornberger replied, that continuing it is a strategic catastrophe. He pushed forward a sheet showing intersecting graphs, Germany's remaining fuel reserves plunging, the rocket program's demands skyrocketing. If these lines continue, he said, our armored forces will lose mobility by spring. The room went still. Jodl finally leaned forward, voice sharp. The Führer considers the V2 essential, a weapon of political value, a weapon of fear. Fear, Dornberger answered quietly, has never won a war. Only logistics do. A ripple of cold disapproval moved across the table. Officers exchanged glances. Keitel's face hardened into stone. Your report will be noted. It wouldn't. Your concerns forwarded. They wouldn't be. And then the true blow. The Führer expects results, General, not pessimism. Dornberger felt the words like cold steel sliding under his ribs. He gathered his papers, knowing the decision had already been made. His warning would be buried, labeled defeatist, perhaps even treasonous. As he stepped into the corridor, a young adjutant rushed after him, voice low. General, they have already marked your report as harmful to morale. It won't be circulated. Dornberger closed his eyes for a moment. So that was it. The truth had no place here. Outside the headquarters, distant thunder rolled across the city. Not weather, but artillery. The Eastern Front was creeping westward one day at a time. Germany needed tanks, fuel, fortifications, mobility. Instead, it was building rockets. As Dornberger walked into the cold Berlin air, he realized something with painful clarity. The V2 would not destroy London, it would destroy Germany. And the prophecy had already begun.